Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator. I just want to continue with that line of questioning. Again, there's a real concern, bipartisan concern about China's growing influence. I think the senator said it right, the sort of corrupt practices that they use and engage in, how that often results in their influence, how they vote in different world organizations. It is a growing concern. At the recent summit of Africa leaders, I heard at least a lot of discussion about how they prefer us as partners, but feel often we're not stepping up to compete and fill the gap. How Chinese, when they come in and do major projects, for example, they're not using local labor, they're not really helping to build. I'm just wondering if you have insights for us, because I think there's a lot of work we could do as a committee to try to better empower American interests and frankly, that align with the interests of different African nations. Do you have any insights that you might want to add to the senator's concerns in mind?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I believe that U.S. business and their investments overseas represent U.S. values in a way that Chinese investments do not. We require that our companies do not pay bribes. We have anti-corruption legislation that we enforce from back here at home. We highlight and press our own companies to enforce local labor laws and abide by the local laws. Other regimes who do not share our values do not hold their companies to those same values. So I think our investments and our companies will always have a slightly tougher row to hoe as a result, but I don't think that we can compromise on those in order to compete in a race to the bottom for investment in Africa and influence there. I have not been confirmed yet. I haven't been to Zimbabwe in a very long time, but my sense is that the Zimbabwean people are keenly aware that they are not benefiting from Chinese investment in Zimbabwe. And I think that's an important point to make.
It is, and it touches on everything from national security issues for us, economic opportunity, and again, rare earth metals. I could go through the things that are challenging for us, as well as helping countries have democracy, because our values, our democratic values, are very different than the Chinese. So I'm grateful for your thoughtfulness on this question, and I look forward to continuing, should you be confirmed, this dialogue. But maybe I'll switch right to Mr. Needler. There is a real problem in Rwanda around rare earth metals, and I would say we see alleged smuggling of resources from the DRC conflict zone that are contributing to the destabilization of the country, the exploitation of people, and again, often working against America's interests as we globally compete for these critical rare earth metals. I'm wondering if you have an assessment of Rwanda's involvement in mineral smuggling, and not only its impact, if you can give me your thoughts, if you agree with me about the severity of the crisis, but some thoughts on how do we stop it.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the question. This is indeed a very serious concern. The issue of the illicit flow of resources across borders throughout the region, throughout the Great Lakes region. There are a number of regional initiatives established to deal with precisely this problem. Rwanda participates in a number of these initiatives. Rwanda has also taken some steps to legitimize its mineral trade, has implemented some traceability measures, but it's true, there is still work to be done in that regard. If confirmed, Senator, I would look forward to working with Rwanda to plug those remaining gaps, but it is an issue of concern.
I appreciate that. And my last question, Dr. General, my mother would be more proud of you, Murthy. You heard from my Republican colleagues, which I think are all legitimate concerns about U.S. sovereignty, about transparency. I think my colleagues, Republican colleagues, put rightfully trying to get facts and truth out. I wonder if I could ask some of their, maybe the inverse of their questions, because I see China trying to influence a lot of world organizations, not just the United Nations. They are trying to out-influence us in creating the rules of the world order. And I guess I would like to hear from you, with the legitimate concerns that my colleagues have brought up, what is the opportunity lost should we not be leaning into an organization like the WHO if we don't exercise Americans' leadership? And as I often hear from our peer countries, the indispensable nature of America's leadership in defining the world order.
Well, thank you, Senator Booker, for that question. I think there's a lot to be lost if we don't have American leadership at the WHO. I think we are the nation that can most effectively press for the transparency and the accountability that is needed to make the WHO into the even more effective and impactful organization that it needs to be for the future. But I also think what matters are our values. When we lead, the approach we take to global health is one that supports human rights, that brings people to the table, that looks to care for and support the most underserved communities that are traditionally left out. These are important values that we can't take for granted. And I'm not confident that without American leadership, that those values would be advanced with the same vigor and effectiveness. So I think it's vital that we are on the world stage, engaging with the WHO and bringing member nations together to push for the effective organization in the WHO that we need, and to ensure, again, that agreements that we put together, amendments that we make to the international health regulations, are ones that not only make sense, but have teeth, so we can move together with strong relationships, but also with accountability. That, in my mind, Senator, is how we create a safer world for tomorrow. That's how we ensure that the risk to our children of enduring another pandemic, and one that has impacts both on their physical and mental health, is diminished in probability. And that's why I feel that this is urgent work, because we can't wait another 5 or 10 years to engage and ensure that the WHO is the effective organization it needs to be. We need to do that work right now.
So you're unlike the other four on the panel. You and I have known each other for 10 years. I consider you a friend. I could whisper this to you privately, but I want to say it to you publicly. I think that a lot of my Republican colleagues are such good faith actors that it would behoove you, should you get confirmed, to pull some of them close in this important role that you have. I see you and Senator Barrasso both doctors. I too have a science degree in political science, but there's a lot of expertise here on this subcommittee that I think could really work well to have us take our role in organizations like the WHO to another level of leadership that also gives the American public the confidence that these organizations are not being used to undermine public safety or to obscure truth and fact, but indeed to help to make for a safer world. I want to also say, for the record, and not that I'm picking on you, Dr. General, who my mom would be more proud of, I want to just say to you that your work in the area of mental health, it is a global crisis coming out of a pandemic. And I think that you have unique insights and expertise that could really help, not just at home as in your role as Attorney General, but in a larger planet that's seeing a lot more stressors on a lot of nations. And I'm looking forward to learning a lot more for you. I want to say to the group as I bring this to a close, Ms. Fitzgibbons, you talked about the development, democracy, diplomacy. I want to use different Ds for you. Every one of you is doing a job, or should you be confirmed, will have to do a job, and especially the folks who've been career diplomats have done this with the Ds of doing things that are difficult, doing things that are demanding, and doing things that are very, very dangerous. We are a nation that has seen the challenges our diplomats have faced, from physical attacks to dealing with environments that are amidst severe conflict. We also know that the work that you do, and many of us who travel as members of the Foreign Relations Committee, we get to see with our own eyes, you all are doing work that ultimately are securing democracy, saving lives, expanding access to human rights. The work that you all do is extraordinary. And the works that and the support you get from your family, I'm so happy that many of you had family members here, should be noted. I didn't just say that in a perfunctory matter about your patriotism, because there are a lot of symbols of patriotism, but you all, in many ways, as we travel around the world, are showing the substance of what I think is lives dedicated to making this nation and the world a better place. I love our history, and I love the role that some of our first ambassadors held. People like Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, they showed the way of what it means to be the light of this nation abroad and helping to not only secure American interests, but make for better alliances and more hope and democracy globally. And so I just want to say, as we bring this hearing to a conclusion, that I am grateful, I am hopeful, and while this might not have, I just came from an earlier hearing today with the Attorney General, which was a packed room. You may not see the celebrity of this moment, but you all are people that are more concerned with significance and celebrity and deep purpose than simple popularity. And so with that, I am going to adjourn the hearing. I'd like to thank you all for your participation. I want to thank your family members for coming as well. You all know this, but this hearing record will remain open until the close of business on Thursday, March 2nd. I guess that's tomorrow. Okay, it's going to stay open until the end of business tomorrow, March 2nd. I would encourage you that if there are questions for the records, many of my colleagues who are pulled in different directions on the days we're in session, they may submit to you questions for the record. I suggest you take them very seriously, as I know that you do, answer them diligently, so that we can have a smooth vote here in the Senate, which I hope, in this committee, which I hope then we will send you to the Senate for a full vote. But I am very honored to be sitting before you all, and I really do hope that I get a chance to serve with you in the positions to which you have been nominated. With that, this hearing is adjourned.